Hello friends, and welcome back to another YouTube video. This is Cassie, and I have a card today that I want to show you using some new to me Arteza products. These are just a few of their premium acrylics. These are the colors Pearl Rose and Pearl Turquoise, and so as you can guess, they have a pearl essence to them. I'm going to take the cap off, get rid of the little extra piece, but I will say what's really nice about this kind of a tube is that it stands up straight, and then once you get the air bubble out right here, once you get the air bubble out, you don't have to worry about air getting into the package. I will say the only downside to the package is that if you put out too much paint, you can't put it back in. So there is the one downside. But other than that, these are some really neat packages, and it gives you the opportunity to use every ounce of the paint that is in there if you use it wisely. These are very pretty, and I wanted to show you that as a card maker, you could definitely use acrylic paints in whatever, you decide to make. So I'm going to use these two colors. I'm also going to pull out it's the Pearl White. And so these are the three colors that they sent, and I just think they're so pretty. So I have those on my little palette there, which is just some cardstock. And then I'm also going to use these My Favorite Things products. That's the Sip Sip Hooray Die. This is the this is the Sassy Pants Birthday Greetings number 2. Here is the Good Time to Wine stamp set. I don't use that one, but I do use the wine glass die that I have just in the package on the back. That one came in a kit a while back. And so let's go ahead and get started with what we're making. I had used the Sip Sip Hooray die and cut that out of some slate cardstock by Brutus Monroe. I'm going to keep all those little pieces. I wasn't sure if I wanted to use the insides or not, but I went ahead and kept them. And then I'm just going to trim down my panel to be a decent size. I also have some white cardstock that I've cut down, so that will fit behind that Sip Sip Hooray. And now this is where I'm going to do my painting. I just have a cheapo paintbrush that I have. It's a flathead, and I'm not cleaning off my brush in between. As you can tell, these colors are a little bit transparent, but they're really pretty and they can blend up pretty nicely. And that's why I chose these colors to work with. And I'm just going back and forth with the colors, doing that rose, then the turquoise, and then the white. Just covering that whole background, and then you'll see once I have the colors down the way I like them, if I stick that Sip Sip Hooray over the top, you get this beautiful color in the background. And so these I think would be fantastic for splatter as well as just any painting that you might do. So I think they would work fine for a card maker if you're in the market for acrylics. And I also like that these have these nice peaks to them when you squeeze them out. So it's not a fluid acrylic, but it is just a nice acrylic. And so there they are. I know these are still a little bit wet, but they definitely have a nice pearl essence to them. And that one's basically dry, so you can tell that it has a good shine to it. Very pretty. So I'll clean up my mess, and then I'm going to go ahead and get started making the rest of the card. I'm going to use that wine dye over that piece that I had painted because I want it to look like the wine in the glass. I decided to make this a shaker card, so I'm actually going to grab out this transparency film that I have a bunch of, and I'll have that link down below. It's not anything you would want to heat emboss on because it will melt the transparency sheet, but these are great for shaker cards, like fantastic. If you don't plan to do any heating on top of them, this paper is great because you get a lot of it for a decent price. And I like to make shaker cards. All right, so I'm just going to use some 1/8 inch score tape on the back of my piece so that way I can adhere down the transparency sheet that I cut down. So I'll peel off all the release paper on those, and then I will just take that transparency sheet that I had cut down and I'll put that right over the top. So now we have the front of my shaker. And then we're going to, and take a look at that. Doesn't that look kind of cool back there? All right, the other thing that they sent me was this Arteza foam mounting tape, and it's 36 yards. It's double-sided, strong adhesive, weather resistant, acid-free is the kicker there, because I know a lot of us use the Scotch, and that stuff is not, I couldn't find anywhere that is acid-free. Not that people are going to be keeping our cards for forever, but, if say you wanted to display one and you want to keep it out for a while, that is something to think about. All right, now it does have a white or a red release paper. And lots of things I actually like about this is it was easy to cut. I did use my Tim Holtz scissors because those are like a Teflon, and so it won't stick to there. And then, so it's easy to trim. It does stick a little bit, and this is very strong, but What I liked about this is you could reposition it. I mean, you probably don't have a ton of time to do that, but let's say you don't get it down exactly where you want it. In the past, some of the tapes that I have used have had that issue where once you put it down, there is no getting it up. Now, a downside would be that you can't tear it like you can the Scotch foam tape, but that also could be because of that release paper. And I thought it was a little bit strange that it's red, but I like that it's red because sometimes I have a hard time figuring out where I pulled off my release paper, and that red makes it a little bit easier to know. And now it's really staticky around here because of the cold weather, and so that release paper sticks to my hands like nobody's business. So maybe this summer I won't have that much of an issue, but yeah. So now I didn't make this like a deep shaker. It's only one layer of the foam tape, and I poured a little bit of some stuff I had in my stash, but then I decided to grab the holographic chunky glitter, and this is the Mermaid rain that I'm putting there, and it matches the paints perfectly. So I just grabbed one scoop of that, or a couple scoops of that, putting that in there, and then I am going to take my painted piece and just flip that right over the top, and then make sure that that is adhered really well. Now, if you wanted those pieces to really, really shake, I would suggest you double up your foam tape, but I just did one because I wanted this to go through the mail pretty easily. This card is for a friend of mine. It's a birthday card. And so I ran that through twice, one on white cardstock and then one on just the piece that I had painted because I wanted it to look like that wine was in there. And then to give some more depth to the wine glass, I'm using some of my W Copics. Those match that slate cardstock pretty well. And so I've grabbed W1 and W4. And it's obviously not going to look like a realistic wine glass, but I definitely wanted it to have a little bit more depth to it. And then I'll just shade out or blend out the W4 with my W1 marker. I'll adhere the piece that is cut out just using some washi tape. And then I've got some more of that slate cardstock that I'm going to use as my card base. And so I'm scoring that at 4 1/4 inches. This will end up being, once it's folded, a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card. So that will make it an A2 size card. My sentiment, I'm going to stamp onto some Raven cardstock from Brutus Monroe. I used my magic powder bag over that to make sure that I don't get any powder where I don't want it to stick. And then I'm going to use my VersaMark ink to stamp my sentiment onto that black cardstock. And then I'll cover that with my Brutus Monroe Alabaster embossing powder. And then I'll heat set that till that is smooth and melted. And obviously there is a bit of residue from the magic powder bag, but you can wipe that away once everything is cooled with a microfiber cloth. I'll start adhering things to the front of my card. I'm going to use the Nouveau Deluxe adhesive to adhere that down. I've got it at a bit of an angle. And then I'm going to use more of that Arteza foam tape to put down parts of my wine glass. You know, obviously the parts that are over the side. And then I'll use my Nouveau Deluxe glue on the part that kind of overlaps the Sip Sip Hooray. And then I'm just going to prep my sentiment. I'll peel off the release paper on the back of my wine glass once I'm happy with where I think it'll be. Put a little of that Nouveau Deluxe glue on there. And then I'll adhere that down to the card front. I actually have, so far that I've been using this foam tape, I'm really quite happy with it. So as a card maker, you know, who does a lot with foam tape, I think that stuff is fantastic. And the price point is nice too. And oftentimes, you know, Arteza will have that stuff on sale. So definitely keep an eye. If you're in the market for some foam tape, that is a good price point. I did put some on my card base as well. And then I also put 2 pieces on my sentiment. I'll take off the release paper on all 3 of those pieces. And then I'll adhere my sentiment down to the front of my card. And I will have a little bit of overhang from the black cardstock, but that is okay. I will just flip that over and trim off the excess with my scissors. And I'm happy with how that's coming along. And then I'll stamp the inside sentiment just using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. This card is for a friend of mine in Georgia that I obviously don't get to see very often, but it's her birthday coming up, so I thought this one would definitely be a fun one for her. And so there it is. I will have everything that I used linked down below in the description box. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye, everyone.